Hello, everybody, and welcome to 2026. New year, new man. More importantly, welcome to the Incompetency Needs to Be Studied series, where we break down every bad decision and logistical errors made by militaries, establishments, and individual characters in fictional movies and TV shows. For this episode, we are going to explore the U.S. government and the Ross Homestead survivors in the 2024 movie Homestead. Before we talk about the characters, we need to talk about why society collapsed in the first place. It began with two terrorists on a sailboat igniting a dirty bomb in Los Angeles, plummeting the city into chaos. How does the United States respond? Immediate collapse. The military, instead of reinstating order within their borders, goes to war with the country that was responsible. With a crippled federal government and a preoccupied military, state and local governments step in to establish order and create their own militias. However, larger cities and densely populated areas become chaotic, and as the movie puts it, they are on fire. Our characters flee to the mountains to escape all of this. If you have more than two brain cells rubbing together, you would realize that this apocalypse makes no sense at all. First, the dirty bomb in LA. If you don't know what a dirty bomb is, it is a radiological dispersing device that mixes conventional explosives like dynamite with radioactive materials. When it explodes, it spreads radioactive materials in the form of dust and smoke. They are primarily used to cause economic instability and panic. The only deaths that would come from a dirty bomb would be the people that are close to the fictional explosive and the people that inhaled the dust particles, which can cause long-term side effects like cancer. Dirty bombs are bad, but they are not world-ending, and they surely wouldn't end the United States government. As far as we know, it was one dirty bomb and it hit Los Angeles, the city that's in chaos all the time. It'll be alright. Let's say the government does. The military would step in and reestablish order and maintain infrastructure. Instead, in this movie, they just go and firebomb the Middle East, and they just don't care about what happens in the United States, apparently. A lot of state governments would try to fill in. Some that are dependent on federal funding, like West Virginia and Mississippi, would not make it. But states that are self-sustainable, like Texas and California, would. Cities would be ungovernable. That's one thing that this movie got right, so points for that. So what is this homestead anyways? The homestead is located somewhere in the Rockies, more specifically, Davis County, Utah. It's owned by the Ross family, more specifically, Ian Ross. Ian built a self-sustaining compound for when society breaks down. It contains a garden, stocks of grain, a well, a giant house, log cabins, and acres upon acres of land. For safety, he also has a room full of military-grade weapons. To keep it sustained during the chaos, Ian created a list of around 100 individuals with a beneficial set of skills to retreat to the compound. One of these individuals being Jeff Erickson, a former Green Beret and DEA agent who was hired by Ian to be the homestead's head of security. When the bomb happens, multiple families flee to the homestead. Head of security Jeff Erickson, his family, and his small militia arrive, so they hop on a Polaris and drive around the property line, and then they immediately start butting heads. Jeff suggests putting their defense a lot farther from the house, but Ian points out that they cannot cross the neighbor's property. Jeff tells Ian that they cannot stay there, but Ian objects to kicking them out. This is where we learn Ian's full plan. Ian, although the owner of a self-sustaining homestead, did not intend it to be a substitute for society, but instead a place for a list of people to seek asylum until the government gets back on its feet and reestablishes order. Jeff is set on fortifying the compound and establishing his own law and order. You know, this all sounds like a conversation that they should have had before the apocalypse started. If they had done this earlier, then they could have either worked out a plan or Ian hire a different security guard. Fighting about this does absolutely nothing but create conflict that just should not exist. These two men fight all the time, by the way. As a matter of fact, we are going to count how many times these two have an argument. We've already covered the first one, so let's do the second one. So Ian is in his gun room when he is greeted by a local zoning officer, Blake Masterson, or as I like to call him, Evil Government Guy. He's here to warn Ian about unpermitted gathering in his residence and paperwork for all of his firearms. Ian tells him to screw off. Before Blake leaves, he threatens him with a SWAT team. As he leaves, guess who shows up to the party? Ian tells him and thinks the warning is more than likely fake, while Jeff takes the threat seriously. We'll put a pin in this later because this becomes very important at the end of the story. Argument number 3. So apparently, Ian has a big mouth, and everybody knows about the Homestead. The people that are not on the special list are waiting at the gate to be let in. Ian's at the gate when Jeff strolls in and talks to him about reported intruders, until one of Ian's friends, Rick, shows up on the other side of the gate begging to be let in. What is Ian's response?
People inside that helped build this place, and they have certain skills. I got skills. Rick, I know, but come on. I love you, but you install fireplaces.
A fireplace installer. You mean someone who has knowledge about heating and insulation? Ian, he could keep you alive during the winter. Let Ricky in. Instead, Ian offers them some of their food to him. But that's when Jeff pulls him back and tells him that if he does that, then they'll be back for more food. When Ian pushes back, Jeff says this.
People are going to die at this gate. You better square yourself with that reality. What do you mean people are going to die at the gate? These people are refugees now, Ian. And refugees end up dead.
I don't have to say this, but this is wrong. Not just morally, but in the practical sense as well. When you have bodies piling up at the gate, what are the people on the inside going to think about this? They're going to start asking you, why didn't they do something? And now you got an angry mob in your hand. It's going to completely destroy your morale. It's going to completely destroy your leadership. Also, just sitting there and watching him suffer and die when you could do something is really messed up. Just saying. He is right about what handing out food would do. People will come back for more. So how do you solve this? Either let them in or scare them away. Jeff even does this with Rick, telling him to find another farm. Get your group of meatheads and fire warning shots to get them away from the gate. Letting them in would be the morally correct way, but Ian, with his mighty chalkboard, would calculate their resources when it lasts long enough. They can't grow stuff either because winter's about to come in, so they have to rely on their grain and their rations. He has a few options here. Either make greenhouses and they can grow during the winter, or send people to town and start looting stuff. Yes, the places that they'll be looting will be hostile, so send some of Jeff's men who are special forces. It's better than starving to death during the winter. Back to Jeff, who is still dead set on fortifying the compound. His son, Abe, volunteers for guard duty at one of their makeshift outposts. Jeff, desperate for men, agrees despite his wife's protests. While on duty, Abe and his sidekick spot two hunters. They try to use their megaphone to warn them, but it runs out of battery. One of the hunters spots their posts and uses his scope to get a closer look, aka he points his rifle at them. Abe contacts his father about this, which Jeff tells him to fire a warning shot. Abe does so, but the hunters completely ignore it and continue pointing the rifle at them. Jeff tells him to shoot, and Abe does.
Jimmy! Jimmy!
One of the hunters run away, while the other one, who was shot, is rushed to the Homestead's makeshift medical facility, where he ends up dying. Everyone's distraught that they ended up killing someone. Abe is devastated, and the nurse shames them for killing someone. Jeff, being Jeff, tells Abe to shut up. Him and the nurse argue about the collapse, while with Jeff telling her it's a war, and with the nurse telling him that the hunter wasn't a soldier. Ian announces that they'll set up new rules of engagement until Jeff says,
I set the rules of engagement.
first off, they need to take better care of their equipment. Second, the hunters were massive idiots. Jeff was right in this instant. They ignored the warning shot and pointed a gun at them. In the medical den, Jeff does not bother trying to comfort his son, but tells him to shut up. But to his defense, Abe did sign up for this and should have expected something like this could have happened. So, about the whole rules of engagement, here's my idea for it. First, use the megaphone with charged batteries to warn them off. Second, fire a warning shot. 3, if they don't comply with the first 2, then I guess it's time to open fire. A 3-strike plan. This also counts as argument number 4, by the way. Later, Jeff has a meeting with his militant group about how they are handling things. He asks them if they are acting above others. His friends say yes, but justify it saying that they have the weapons and the training compared to the others. Jeff then announces to them that they will set up a proper governing system within the homestead. This is great. Jeff is taking a step back and examining himself and questioning his role within the homestead. It helps with self-awareness, and it would improve his decision-making. Jeff is right about setting up a government system in the compound, even though that's supposed to be Ian's job. Ian gets a talking to from his wife, Jenna, about the killing of the hunter, saying that she doesn't feel safe in her own home since the incident. I understand Jenna's concern. They just killed someone. However, the Abe situation was self-defense. The hunters were pointing the gun at him. He fired a warning shot. He ignored it, and then Abe shot him. Yes, it was miscommunication, but that's just how it is. You don't, whatever. This is. Let's close this book and move on. The next day, Jenna tells Ian about the small little bread factory she was able to make with their supply of wheat and say that they can feed the people outside of the gate. Ian tells her no, they can't. What does she do? She feeds them anyway. Even his own wife isn't on board with them. Guess what? We are in the final act, and guess who shows up? Evil government guy, Blake Masterson. This time, he brought a SWAT team and armored vehicles, demanding everyone in the homestead to leave. Jeff arms himself with a 30 cal, while Ian walks out to talk to them. During the exchange, the militant group sets up on a hill and contacts Ian through the walkie-talkie. When Ian reaches for his, Blake opened fires, and bullets start being exchanged from both sides. Jeff starts laying down suppressive fire from his gun. When the dust settles, 2 people are shot. A member of the SWAT team and Ian Ross. One of the militants try to argue with Jeff that they should have killed the SWAT team so they don't come back. But Jeff tells him to shut up and rushes Ian to the medical facility where he falls into a coma. We spent this whole episode on Ian and Jeff, but now we're going to talk about Blake Masterson and his SWAT team here. Obviously, they did not prepare for this. Usually in situations like this, they would try to go in undetected. Why would they go through the entrance of a known armed compound? Blake is a zoning officer, so it's not like they wouldn't know about spots they could slip through. SWAT would set up snipers as Overwatch, so Jeff would have been domed before he even touches his 30 cal. Ian should not have reached for his transmitter with a gun pointed at him. Of course, Ian does something dumb. A month later, Ian wakes up and Jenna tells him what happened during his slumber. When Ian went into a coma, Jenna took charge of the compound and decided to let all the people at the gate in. They built greenhouses to farm during the winter and installed solar panels by raiding the town's supplies. She also received no pushback from Jeff about any of this. It turns out everything worked out, and in her words,
"It's lucky for us, my God is bigger than the map."
then the movie ends. For now. As it turns out, this movie was a backdoor pilot to a TV series that goes by the same name. I'll talk about the TV show later because honestly, I'm tired. Maybe there were other things going on in the system in this movie. Even then, it still wouldn't collapse like this. The military did react, but they reacted the wrong way. And in reality, even if they were attacking another country, they would still have the numbers and the equipment to both maintain order within the borders and then attack outside the borders. Blake in reality was trying to weaponize his position of authority to try to take over the compound because he himself was desperate. I don't blame him for weaponizing the SWAT team because he's in that position, I think. I don't know why the SWAT team was in favor of this, because obviously they did not put enough effort into this. These were the villains in the movie, which is tragic because they're absolute garbage. Although he was the most complex and well-written character, he was still an idiot. Ian created the Homestead, but he did not know how to run it, or even organize it. He did not see any outsiders as a threat, always arguing with everyone about how to run things and how things should work, and he played it safe. I will not dock him for points for believing that FEMA would come and save him, because he did not expect the government to collapse like it did. Nobody did. I mean, I guess Jeff. And he created the Homestead for temporary chaos. The use of the Homestead was being deterred from its original purpose.
It's alright.
Being a former Green Beret, Jeff was a lot more prepared for this survival situation. He led his own militia to protect the Homestead and was able to re-examine his own actions and change. However, he is emotionally detached. Yes, people do need to toughen up, but you need good morale, and letting people die at the front gate is terrible for morale. He doesn't act like a human, and doesn't even talk like an actual person.
Everyone down in town is looking in the back of their pantries right now and thinking really, really hard. People are refugees now, Ian, and refugees end up dead. You don't have to make war for war to find you.
Look at him!
Maybe they are, maybe they're not. If we give up our guns now, we will never get them back.
He always talks like he's quoting some book from an army general. Ian was dumb, but Jeff did not bother trying to compromise. Jeff can lead an army, but he cannot lead people.
Okay.
We didn't see much of her leadership, but we did see the outcome. She took a massive risk, and it paid off for the better. She's great for morale, planning, and was able to persuade Jeff. However, she needs to be careful. Throwing out logistics is a suicidal approach. Yes, Jenna's plan worked out, but it won't always be like this. Religion is good and positive, but there will be times where the right decision won't always be the moral decision. Her reaction to the hunting incident was also a problem. Yes, violence is bad, but you will have to utilize it. She can run the Homestead better than Ian, but she needs to play it a little more safe or else she'll make a decision that'll cost the entire compound. This movie was bad, but you can take valuable lessons from the decisions these mind-boggling characters made. When making a survival retreat, do not half-ass your plan. Don't tell everyone about it. Do background checks on the people you're letting in. Don't be a dictator. And most importantly, make sure you have enough to survive. Before I go, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I put a lot more effort into this video than I usually do because this movie was so niche and that it was really hard to find anything to research about this. I wish I could go more into geography and a lot more, but I really couldn't. What's worse is that Angel Studios decided to make their own streaming service and put all their stuff in it, so, that helped. The Walking Dead video I made boost my confidence in this channel, and right now, at this moment, I believe that this can work after a couple of years of trying. If I made any mistakes in this video, I made any errors, or if I got any facts wrong, please correct me down in the comments. And if you liked this video, leave a like. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.